Wow, so the Tomas Tatar trade was a fantastic win over here for the Detroit Red Wings. Yeah, we're not talking about the Montreal, Max Pacioretty, Nick Suzuki Tatar trade. We've beaten that topic down into the ground so much that it's already decomposed. There are snails crawling around that topic, and the gravestone has started to weather itself out a little bit. That's how far we've dug the Montreal Tatar trade topic into the ground. However, the one Tatar trade topic we haven't really discussed in nearly the same amount of volume is the Red Wings Tatar trade. Because if you remember, if you tuned into our The Career of Tomas Tatar video, he was a Red Wings guy before, and he was honestly pretty good with Detroit when the Red Wings ended up rebuilding, getting away from that long playoff streak that they had, because remember, back in the glory days of Lidstrom and Datsuk and Zetterberg and Kronwall and whatnot, the Red Wings had the longest active playoff streak record out of like any NHL team ever, I think, and they were breaking away from that in the mid-2010s. So once they started doing all that stuff, they started retooling, trading away some guys, and then they became a bad team. One of the guys they traded away at the time was a 27-year-old Tomas Tatar, who was going out there getting like 50, 40 points a season. He had 20 goals a few times with the Red Wings as well. He was supposed to be seen as the future of Slovakian wingers in Detroit. And because they started becoming bad, they sent him away to a brand new team in the NHL. Yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights acquired Tomas Tatar around the trade deadline of 2018 in their inaugural season. If you remember what we spoke about in the previous video, you know what happens next. Tatar wasn't really played in the playoffs, they went to the finals and he was scratched. Lo and behold, a few years later, Tomas Tatar is on Montreal. They go to the finals in 2021, and guess what? He is scratched again the entire run. So Tomas Tatar, despite being on some pretty good teams that had pretty good results, was not really a direct impact of those results. Sure, with the Habs in the regular season, he was fantastic, but in a vacuum, he didn't play in the playoffs when the Canadiens went to the finals. He played the first 4 games against Toronto pretty much, and then he was completely taken out. So yeah, not really the best look there for Tatar in his career. Either way, though, I want to go back to when the Red Wings traded Tatar to Vegas the first time, because when Tatar was traded back then, it was seen as a pretty big deal and a really nice trade made for the Red Wings. It was a steep price from the Golden Knights, and the Red Wings, hey, it's Ken Holland this time, not Steve Yzerman, they're pretty happy with how things go down. Because the return for Tomas Tatar from the Red Wings to the Golden Knights back in 2018 goes as follows: a 2018 first-round pick, a 2019 second-round pick, and a 2021 third-round pick. Hey, guess what? It's 2021. We have ourselves everything that's gone down here, and all the returns, it's actually been fully confirmed and solidified here. And it honestly looks really good for Detroit. The draft picks the Wings acquired were the first and third from Vegas. The second was actually the Islanders pick in 2019 that was sent over in the Grabowski, Jean-Francois Berube trade all those years ago. Yeah, it was a mess. The first was used in 2018 at the end of the first round, when the Red Wings drafted a guy who became known as one of the most underrated centers in the entire draft, in my opinion, Joe Veleno. We all know who this guy is. He's been crazy good, developing in the QMJHL, Drummondville, St. John earlier in his career. Then he goes over to Grand Rapids. He does fantastic over there. He makes his debut with the Red Wings earlier this season. We know that the best is by far yet to come here for Joe Veleno and what his NHL future holds. I'll always remember the stuff that we spoke about with Joseph Veleno back when he was draft eligible. If you remember, I did make a video talking about how I would have been okay if the Vancouver Canucks selected Veleno 7th overall in the draft, because I just thought he was that good. I thought that the center playmaking capabilities, the Jonathan Taves-like play style was super strong. He was always super good on the puck with passing. He was really good defensively, and power play, penalty kill, he was kind of an all-situations kind of guy over there. So seeing him develop in the Red Wings system has been fantastic, and I know so many Red Wings fans as well are really much liking what Joe Veleno has brought to their prospect pool. And he was the main piece, at least, because it was the first-round pick from that Tomas Tatar trade all those years ago with the Vegas Golden Knights. Guess what, though? The second-round pick in 2019 was used up by Detroit to eventually draft somebody else from the American programs this time. Guess who it is? It's a guy we've actually not talked about on the channel at all before. Robert Mastrosimone. Yes, 54th overall right here. He's a center left wing player, 5'10", 170 pounds. He was fantastic for the Chicago Steel in the USHL back when he was drafted. However, I will say, he has kind of struggled a little bit in the NCAA scene. In 2019-20, he had 17 points in 34 games, so half a point a game over there. In 2020-2021, he was also at half a point a game, but you have to remember, he's playing on BU, and BU is a pretty meh kind of team when it comes to point production, because, I mean, they have two guys that are at a point per game. Yes, Jay O'Brien, David Ferentz. Then you have Tuck, Cockrell, Skoog, Mastrosimone, Vlasic, all kind of going down there in the points, and the production really isn't all too high. Not to mention the fact that the BU Terriers this season only played 14 games compared to everybody else. Their volume was just a lot lower than other teams. So not really the best. Not to mention the fact as well that in Mastrosimone's earlier year with the BU Terriers, you had yourselves a guy named Trevor Zegras who was on that squad, taking up a bulk of the minutes and being a very good player over there, so certainly a lot more difficult to play well when your ice time is being taken up by David Harper and Zegras. So even though the entire prospect profile, the points, they don't really look all too good, I've always been a big fan of Mastrosimone based off of his days with the Chicago Steel. So if he goes out there, really improves next year in the BU system, then hey, that's going to be really good to see. But he's a prospect that probably has some middle six, top nine potential in my opinion, so we'll see where exactly he goes with his long-term career into the NHL. And finally, we have ourselves one more asset from the Red Wings Tatar trade. It is the third-round pick in 2021. That in which the Red Wings have not used yet, partly because I'm recording this video the night of July 22nd, meaning that the NHL entry draft for 2021 has not happened yet, but secondly, the Red Wings are not going to be using that pick because they don't own it anymore. They traded that third-round pick yesterday to the Carolina Hurricanes for Alex Nedeljkovic, and yes, if you saw the video we made yesterday, it was an absolute Detroit highway robbery, and I'm going to say it's going to be pretty much standard like that, because the Red Wings traded away a third-round pick and the rights to Jonathan Bernier. Bernier wasn't going to re-sign with Detroit, so he was essentially valueless in the eyes of the Red Wings. So the fact that it was pretty much just that pick and the negotiation rights for Nedeljkovic, fantastic trade. If you go down the line here, the Tatar trade ultimately goes down to Detroit as a return of Joe Veleno, Robert Mastrosimone, and Alex Nedeljkovic, if you don't want to include the rights to signing Jonathan Bernier, who wasn't going to re-sign with your team anyway. And from the eyes of that perspective, I do believe that the Tatar trade, like many of the other Red Wings trades that we have seen as of late, is a pretty big win against the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, granted, it's not like the Golden Knights would have really benefited from getting any of these assets anyway. I mean, they're kind of a team that's in win-now mode. They don't really need too many prospects in their system right now. Who knows how good a Veleno would be playing with Vegas and Mastrosimone and all that stuff. It's not really guaranteed. Nedeljkovic, they don't need Nedeljkovic at all because, I mean, Fleury, Lehner, it's fantastic over there in Vegas. But still, just in terms of what the Red Wings were able to collect for their team in this trade, absolutely fantastic transaction there, a big win for them. And I mean, for the Vegas Golden Knights, look, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt over here. They did use Tatar and a few other things to trade for Max Pacioretty, who is a very good player on their squad right now, so it's not that bad for Vegas, I guess. It's just, I think that Detroit is the bigger winner here, contextually speaking, based off of what they acquired, what that acquisition means to their team at the moment, and where they are timeline-wise with the ages of their good players and whatnot. They still have the 6th overall pick in this year's draft as well, and they just acquired Nedeljkovic, who could be a very good starter next year, and a great number 1 starter heading into the long-term future. So, for the Red Wings, man, even though Ken Holland and the era that Ken Holland was here in wasn't really the best showcase in terms of his transactions and whatnot, this is the transaction that I think he got right, man. Sure, he overpaid for a lot of guys that were a lot older and that were a lot more unnecessary in his time with the Red Wings, and he's kind of displaying the same traits now with Edmonton. The biggest example in my mind is the Duncan Keith trade. He still did some good, and it's not just Yzerman who's going out there making big highway robberies over here, because Ken Holland and his first, second, third trade for Tatar has proved out in the next few years to actually being a pretty good one. If Nedeljkovic becomes your number 1 starter for the next, 5-6 years, then I think this is an automatic win just based off of how you were able to acquire this guy from the assets acquired in that Tatar trade. So talk to me in the comments what you thought about this video idea over here. The Tomas Tatar trade from Detroit to Vegas, not the Montreal one over here. The first, second, and third pick return becoming Mastrosimone, Veleno, and Nedeljkovic. Let me know in the comments what you think about this idea over here. Hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.